Welcome to Two Souls Podcast, a podcast to shift, impact, empower, and disrupt your consciousness, ultimately allowing you to thrive in this human experience. Now here are your hosts, Amber Megenhauser and Angela Blaha. Hey Amber, how are you today?
Awesome. How are you?
Fantastic. All right, what do we get to explore today?
Today, I thought we would explore some examples of different signs and symbols that we see. I feel like when we are a beginner and just kind of coming into a lot of this stuff, we physically need to see different things because our mind cannot relate to hearing the unheard or seeing the unseen. We need to physically see the different signs, the different symbols, learning different practices, different rituals. So I just kind of thought we would talk a little bit about like seeing different numbers like 1111, 555, or seeing different animals. Like what do they mean and how can our mind uh, help us to figure out kind of what those messages are for ourselves, because I know when I first started I seen a lot of numbers, like it's constant, like 1111, 1111, and to be honest with you right now I'm seeing 1111 or 111 or 777 like constantly, and 444. So I just kind of wanted to talk about, like what does it mean when we see all those numbers? Like is it messages? Like should we pay attention to what we're doing right at that moment to kind of draw our attention in, and how can it help us expand?
Yes, we should be paying attention to those things, especially, when we are expanding our own intuition. There's an unsafety factor that comes in, and we access these signs and symbols so that we feel safe while we're doing it. And so, numbers, right? Like we're programmed to understand and see numbers. So, it's a safe way for us to open up to receive messages. Like if you have repeating numbers, like they mean a certain thing, you can look them up on Google. I'm not rehearsed in, or I don't have them all memorized, like what they all mean. And animals are the same way. Like animals are safe, especially if we, love animals and we like pay attention to them. Again, it's all about feeling safe and opening up to your own intuition and your own. What happens is our soul self opens us up in the way that we can see and hear other levels of consciousness. So even if it's um, even if it's a really deep meaning to something, or there's a change coming in your future, like the soul always wants to warn you. It always wants you to open up to it so that you don't become more fearful, you don't become more um, afraid of your own self, of your deeper self. And so that's the reason why we have these symbols and these signs that come in, to sort of like give us an awareness that there's a change coming. I need to maybe understand what 1010 means a little bit deeper. Like there's a change. Like that's really what 1010 means, right? There's a change coming. So, opening yourself up to like exploring that is really what the signs and symbols mean.
So how could someone explore that a little bit deeper other than like Googling what 10 10 10 means? Um, do, is it the questions that we ask? Like it is a layer thing, because
Mm-hmm.
I feel like in the beginning, like it's all about the questions you ask. You can't just say, what does this mean? Because it'll be complete silence. But if you can dig a little deeper and like say, why am I seeing 10 10 repeatedly? you will get the answer for it. I think that listening is the huge key with it, because sometimes we only hear what we want to hear.
Well, exactly. That's why it's so easy to go to Google and look it up, and then your ego is sort of satisfied. It is when you move into, meditation, or you explore the questionings a little bit deeper, and you do have to teach yourself to listen, that the real message comes in, right? So yeah, we can satisfy the ego and then move along our day, but it doesn't mean that we actually understand the number or the vision or the sign or the symbol. What it usually means is it's just, it's like hunger. Like you satisfy hunger by drinking water or having a snack or something, but the real hunger is still there. Same way with intuition. Like we can stay on the surface if we want to and just say, "Oh, numerology is amazing." And yes, it is. But what's the deeper message? If we're not actually asking those deeper kinds of questions of, what does 1010 mean to me? Like, who cares what it says on Google? What does it mean to me? Right? Like, 1010 is the time of my birth. And
Yeah.
so it has real significance to, there's a birthing that's happening. Like, I see 1010 when I'm birthing into something. Had I not asked the real questions in the beginning of, who cares about 1010? And 1010 probably can't even be found on Google. I don't know. But, you ask the deeper questions of, okay, well, if 1010 is something that I'm constantly seeing, then why would I want to be seeing 1010? And what's my soul, prepping me for? And how can I move into this deeper? Like, I don't want to be blindsided by a birthing. That's the worst possible thing that could happen to me, is to be blindsided by, because instantaneous change creates trauma. We know that through humanity. And well, for some of us, it creates trauma. And I'm, working on not having trauma in my life. And so I sit down and I journal and say, okay, well, 1010, I've seen 1010 10 times. There's a lot of tens going on here. So what is it that you're trying to let me know? Um, you know, just doing that kind of thing, and then just journaling whatever comes in. You could do meditation and say, okay, show me what I'm opening up to. And you don't have any expectations at the end. See, the expectations are the killer of the visions. So we don't really want to have expectations. We
Yeah.
don't really want to have that. Well, this is what I want to grow into. We don't want to have that coming into our meditation or into our journaling practice. We just want to know, and we want to be shown what the new adventure is.
The expectation is a huge key to getting the right answer. I know for
Yeah.
myself in the beginning, I had a lot of expectations around everything, because you have one really great experience. So you expect every experience to be like that. And when I go in with any expectations at all, my meditations will be completely silent. I'm just like, what is going on here? Like, is
Mm-hmm.
there no activity? Like, what the heck? But I have noticed that it's because I'm limiting to myself to what is coming in, because I have a certain expectation. So having no expectations when you do ask the right questions about this is the one of the key factors to it.
That and competition. Like, we want to compare our visions or our knowing or our experience to someone else's. That, along with the expectation of it, like that's where we get the expectation in the first place generally, is comparing, right? Like, if we have one great, amazing
Yeah.
vision, and then, or, whatever it is, experience, then we want to have that over and over and over again. And, that's not how we work. It's a one and done kind of a
Yep.
deal, no matter how hard we try
Yeah,
to
for
recreate
sure.
it. Yeah.
Yes, definitely dealt with that. That is tough. But after you can completely let that go, Every experience is different, and after a while you don't even compare them because they're all for a reason and on a different level.
Hmm. Right. You know, I think that we
And
overlook. I think we overlook the signs and the symbols. Like my friend had a tree branch that fell, and it was on her deck where she meditates every single day, and she faces a tree, but the tree like showed her that it would never hurt her because it when it fell, the branch fell, it did not damage nothing, not one single thing was damaged, and it didn't even land on the chair that she normally sits in, right? And so that tree
Wow.
message for her was that she's safe, that she's always safe no matter what. And, it's these little signs and these little symbols that we take for granted that can sometimes mean the biggest that or carry the biggest messages for us. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
one thing to see 10 and 10 over and over and over. And if you're not moving into silence and you're not actually asking the question, you will probably miss what you're supposed to be paying attention to. Right? So stop staying on the surface and dive
Yeah.
deeper into these meanings that can sometimes be the most profound experiences ever.
Yes. I could just feel that. They are
Yeah,
so profound. And
right.
I think people get caught up too on the surface level of, you know, everybody's experience is different. And so if 555 means one thing to me, it may mean something completely different to you. So even though you
Mm-hmm.
look it up on Google and it kind of guides you to the generic meaning of that number, it definitely doesn't mean the same thing for everybody.
Right. A one size does not fit all in this world. If
Yeah.
we know nothing else, we should know that one size does not fit all. We are all unique individuals,
Yes.
and we should, you know, five means something to the writer of whoever wrote that information. That's what five meant to them. It's not a generic. This is what it means for everybody. But we, again, miss that kind of thing
Yes.
because we don't want to do our own work because we're gonna, you know, we're lazy beings. We're lazy beings.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing is the
Yeah.
comparing. The comparing. Let's dive a little bit deeper into that because in our numinous experiences, I'm all about seeing the big picture, and that's the way that I conceptualize the world. That's the way I see things. I have to see a big picture. I'm not one who takes small pieces and puts them together to create the big picture. I see the big picture, and then I can defrag it from there. But without that giant picture, like I just fumble around. And so that one of the people in the numinous group was like, I just wanted to have this amazing experience that you, Angie, had in Corral, Peru, where that was a huge amazing experience for me, but again, I had to have that big kind of dramatic, almost dramatic experience in order to understand all areas and all compartments of it. That's how I operate as a being. Now, if you're expecting that to happen and you're a person who is a down up thinker, I'm an up down thinker, I do it reverse. Majority of humans are down up thinkers. They can put things together and then create the big picture. That is not even a possibility for me. I've tried, believe me. But if we're a down up thinker and we want to have these explosive kinds of experiences, it will literally blow out your all of your like it'll completely ruin you. It'll create so much trauma in you that you won't even be able to put the pieces together. So when we have experiences, we have to look at ourselves and say, okay, well, this is how I understand number one. This is how I understand number two. This is how I understand a bear when I see a bear. This is how I understand faces in clouds, right? This is how and it all links to our belief systems, right? So if we believe in angels, of course we're going to see
Absolutely.
angels. If we don't believe in angels, we're never going to ever see an angel. And it won't be prominent. It'll be like this little tiny whisper of an angel because we don't have the belief
Yeah.
system to support what we see or what we know.
I'm sitting here thinking, definitely realized as you were talking just some of the comparisons I did in my own self, which completely sabotages everything you're working towards. Because we always, like in our head, we always want to be like someone else, or we want to have the same type of experiences that someone else has. But in reality, we are all different and every single one of our experiences is different. So, like what you had in Peru, you needed that at that time. But the person in our group, maybe she's going to have experience like that at a different time, but it's going to be on a totally different level. So comparing that's like comparing apples to oranges because all of our DNA is different and we all have different messages and different things that come to us, and you can't compare. As much as you want to have a phenomenal experience like you saw somebody else have, yours is just on a different level. And when you're meant to learn that part of it, it'll come to you and you'll know it.
Exactly. Yeah. Comparing is some of the worst things that we could ever do. That competing kind of energy that we have, that competition, it invokes, for some, it invokes motivation. And for others, it's like a downward spiral because you're constantly comparing and competing against someone or something else, and it never helps you. So we really have to understand,
Yeah.
we talk about this all the time, understanding thyself and knowing thyself. Like you need to know when will help you, will motivate you, will expand you, and when competition just pulls you down into the ugliness of who we are. And signs and
And it
symbols,
completely holds you back from who you are.
yeah, totally. And signs and symbols can help guide us in those ways if we actually use them to our advantage and we don't use them to compete.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, knowing
I've in
thyself.
it is completely about knowing yourself. And like with myself, I guess I wanted, I've talked about this a lot, I guess, where I just wanted things to happen so much faster. And I wasn't necessarily comparing myself to others, but I wanted to be able to have experiences that others were having as well. And I kind of held myself back completely with it because I just kept trying to relate to their experiences instead of having my own. I actually had a friend reach out to me. I've one of the things I've been working on is channeling, and I'm not confident enough in myself to completely do it for others because I don't know why. And I got it because every time I do it, like it's spot on, but I still have that little bit of doubt in myself. Not that I have doubt in myself, I guess. I just um lack a little bit of confidence with how to relay the messages. And so I actually had a friend reach out to me that wanted me to do some channeling for her. And when I messaged her back about it, she was just like, that is exactly what I got. So like having that and being able to understand that like having her reach out to me like that was a sign for me to like trust myself, because I'm like, okay, I really can do this. Like I got this. Like I got the exact same message that she got, just with our verbiage was a little bit different. But that to me is like a huge sign when, like even people saying things to us, people coming into our lives, like things people say to us, like everything is a sign. Like, and we just kind of like brush it off like, oh, I met this person today, or oh, this person said this to me. But in reality, like everything that comes to you in one way, shape, or form is some kind of sign or symbol.
Yeah, it can be totally. So let's dive into your experience a little bit deeper. Like that was a sign for you to go ahead and, I mean, it was a doorway, literally, for you to step in and say, okay, I got this. But the trust factor, right? Like when we're talking about intuition, when we're talking about signs and symbols, there's always a trust factor. Even when we're competing against someone
Yeah.
else or something else, there's a trust issue, right? Like that's why we compete, is because of we don't have trust in ourselves. And so, what
Yep.
did that experience teach you about trusting yourself?
It honestly, afterwards, I felt so amazing. And when she sent me back, like what she had channeled and her channeled message, honestly, like it literally gave me goosebumps, and it kind of brought tears to my eyes. I was just like, holy crap, like this is exactly like everything that came in for me, like to a T. We literally just worded it a little bit different, but it definitely boosted my confidence. I've had three different experiences like this in the last couple weeks where um I've channeled things, and I did lack the confidence in doing it, but I am really, it's like these last couple weeks, I'm just like, I have had this whole time, but every single bit of it was my lack of confidence in myself.
Yep. Well, and
so,
that's,
so
it's
that,
that's a pretty normal thing. Lack of trust and
yeah.
confidence.
And it's
Yeah.
just really come to the surface. And after you can get past that and literally trust what you are hearing and trust what is coming in for you, man, life's a game changer.
Yes, yes, it is. And the only thing that the ego sees as dealing with trust is the practice, right? And that's why we talk about practice so often, is because we can see all the signs and symbols in the world all day, every day, but without actually practicing and learning to trust the self and knowing the self, like you'll still see just signs and symbols. And then you'll go to Google and say, oh, what does this mean? Even though you've seen it 50 times. But yeah, it's the
Yeah.
practice and the confidence. Mm-hmm. Well, practice creates confidence because the
And
ego has to be reminded.
and with the
Go ahead.
practice too, I feel like it's about finding out what works for you. You
Mm-hmm.
know, um, you always, when we take classes or we're taught different things, yeah, like you're taught how to begin with something, but that practicing what you learned in class doesn't necessarily expand you. It's about taking what you've learned and creating your own practice from that. So I've pulled all kinds of bits and pieces from multiple different classes that I've taken, and it's you create your own practice, and that's what makes it you so in tune with it that you finally understand it.
Yes, that's what alignment is when you can take something, make it your own. There's then when you make it your own, like that whole trust issue like diminishes. And
Yeah.
yeah, you have to make it your own. You can't take someone else's practice from them. You have to create your own because that's where you open up to that perfect alignment.
Yeah. So like, and like with the channeling part of it too, I guess I had no idea who this person was that she wanted me to help her with. And so I'm like, okay, like how do I channel somebody I don't even know? But that's exactly what it's about. So I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, like I just kind of like experiment with it till I had my own way. And it's like I was guided to this is how you get to that spot. And when it happened, I was like, yes, I did this. Because everyone else I had done was people I knew. So I felt like it was easier. It was the first, like, no type of relationship, never met anybody kind of experience. So it really, really boosted my confidence. So that was a huge sign for me to that, that's part of what I really need to work more into my practice and play with that to make me more confident in myself.
Right. So, two things: you weren't emotionally involved, and it's so much easier when we have no emotions because we don't have any expectations then. Secondly, would you be interested in sharing your process with everyone?
Sure. I guess what I did was when I got this message, I didn't even realize I had it. To be honest with you, she had messaged me the night before, and I don't even know how I missed it. So when I got up this morning, I was like, okay. So I sat with it, and I'm like, how? I thought to myself, how am I going to channel somebody I don't know? But I'm like, people do this all the time. So I just started asking questions like, what is the best way to do this? How do I get to where I need to be? And one of the things I remembered was when you had told us, you go through like people's timeline. And I'm like, okay, that's what instantly came to me when I asked. So I'm like, okay, so that's exactly what I did. I went through through my friend to get to her friend.
Mhm.
And that, that time frame, I guess, that timestamp in her life where the information she wanted to know. Um, so it's like I went through three different people to get where I needed to be. And then I just started asking a ton of questions. I was having visions that were coming in, like I was hearing all kinds of stuff that needed to be said to my friend, and it just kind of all happened. And honestly, when I got done and I came out of it, I just started typing on my phone because I was like, I can't write that fast. So I just started typing everything that came into me. And when I messaged her, she was just like, girl, oh my gosh, like I literally got the exact same thing. And then she had sent me what she had wrote. And I honestly, like, it was it was absolutely beautiful. I just was like, it really did change my confidence too. So
Mhm.
I that's kind of my process with it, I guess, is you have to go
Yeah, so you
through.
went through timelines.
Oh,
Is that
I did. I did.
yeah. I go through souls. So I literally so you went through the Akashic field, which, you know, is perfectly a perfect way to do it. I go through soul energy, and so so we both have a process, one that works for both of us. You use timelines, and you can timeline jump. So that's how you did it. Was you went through three different souls, so you timeline jumped into somebody else's timeline to get to the information. Perfect, perfect way to do it.
Awesome. That was such a great experience.
Yeah, cool.
So, I guess just kind of recap a little bit, like signs and symbols are everywhere. You literally just have to pay attention to them. They can be in the form of people reaching out to you, they can be in the form of numbers, they can be in the form of animals you see, animals that come to you. They are literally everywhere. It's just bringing your awareness to it and figuring out what it's meant for you.
Yes, very true. So we want to thank everyone for joining us today.
Yes, thank you so much. We really appreciate everybody listening. If you have any questions or a subject you would like us to discuss, please feel free to reach out to one of us. You can either email us, text us. It would be great to hear from all of you. Until next time, from our soul to yours, have a super fantastic day.